to Season 6 of Unapologetically Woman. We're celebrating phenomenal women all across Kentucky who make no apologies for their perspectives or the impacts that they're making in the community. Today we're celebrating Courtney Maynard. Courtney is a mom, an advocate, and she's the Deputy Director and Education Director at Operation Unite. Unapologetically Woman. Courtney, that's you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me today.
Oh, so glad to be with you. But you've got to explain this to me.
Okay.
You said you're in your granny hobbies era.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Just anything cozy. I, work hard at my job. I work hard to provide my home, and I want to spend time at my house. I put a lot of money and effort into it, so I am doing puzzles. I'm painting banners for friends and families for their birthdays, doing little clay magnets, just anything, video games, reading, just anything that keeps me home and snuggled under a heated blanket, basically.
Good for you.
Absolutely.
I need to get in that granny stage.
Yes, you do. It's just comfortable.
To be at home, to be in your own
Yoga
place.
pants, house shoes.
Comfy.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, good place to be.
So tell me about Operation Unite.
Of course, I love Operation Unite. I have been with Unite going on 9 years this year, actually. And I started at the very basic program that they had began. But to give you a backstory to Unite, it was started by Congressman Hal Rogers in 2003. He saw a news article come out about the opioid epidemic hitting eastern Kentucky, and he knew something had to be done. So he started Operation Unite, and it is a nonprofit, three-pronged approach. So Unite is actually an acronym, and it stands for Unlawful Narcotics Investigation, which is the police, treatment, and then education, which has been my wheelhouse the last few years. So Unite served the 5th Congressional District for a long while, and through grants we've been working to push out to the rest of the state. Our CEO and President, Tom Vicini, firmly believes that the kids in Harlan or Beauty, Kentucky, where I'm from, all the way to Bowling Green, deserve drug prevention and education. The adults deserve access to treatment, affordable, and the law enforcement needs help, on the DEA federal level. And so that's what Unite does in a nutshell.
So it is all about prevention.
Yes.
In youth.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. The education portion pours into youth and community and educating not just adolescents but adults as well on staying sober, having access to resources, and what to do with adolescents in this scary age that we live in now.
And so what do you do?
So what do I do? That's a good question.
Yeah.
I have a friend that says she is a jack of all trades, master of none. And I really fall into that. I feel like at Unite, my role as Deputy Director is to assist across the board through all three prongs. So the law enforcement, treatment, and education. As Education Director, I'm primarily in the Education Department. We were able to get a grant a few years ago. I was able to write one where we received $1 million through opioid abatement funds to build a prevention team. And that had never been done in the capacity that we were doing it before. So that's really when my role in the youth advocacy got started in terms of prevention education. So we built that team. I was able to build that team, get that in line, and then we've also reached into our community coalition. So we take stakeholders, community members. So I help coordinate that with 2 wonderful supervisors. I work and write our grants with a wonderful grant administrator as well. Help our team navigate free summer camps for students in the summer, because we want to keep them from August all the way, the whole entire year, and we start from kindergarten through 12th grade. So I really help navigate and build those components and try to stay on top of trending substances and things along those lines and make sure we're giving them the education they need. But we also realize that looks different from county to county. And so we study what we're doing within those counties. We talk to their stakeholders. And so navigating those meetings, advocating for our budget with the state legislators, and really just putting out fires a lot of the time, I would say, is what I do for Unite.
And so, what kind of gains have we seen through Unite?
Absolutely. Unite, we are looking at a few different data sources, of course. I know that some of our prevention programs, we do a pre and post survey to gain knowledge growth for adolescents, and we're seeing that grow to 21 to 38% on pre and post surveys. We teach them things about vaping, we teach about internet safety, because that's a really big thing these days, especially
huge.
Access to substances that they shouldn't have access to through the internet, and all on age appropriate level. And so we're having these kids that are living in chaos, that don't realize they're living in chaos, be able to hear from us. We have people, with lived experience in addiction that are in recovery, and they're going and talking to these kids, and we're able, more so, this is more anecdotal than, statistically, seeing these kids realize this isn't normal and I can change this. What I'm living in, the chaos I'm living in, is not the typical. Just because it's what I'm used to does not mean what I have to have. And so we're able to take them into other places. We take them to the college for camp. They see that life. We go and speak to them about, life stories, but also the real truths of everything. And what we're hoping is we give them this information and they make a choice, because we want them to make the choice. We know what choice we want them to make,
yes,
but we want to
yes.
say, here's all the information, here's how you're being targeted, and that makes them mad that they're targeted by different companies like that are targeting our youth.
Yeah.
And once they hear that, it's like you see the fire in their eyes, that they don't want to live that life. They know they can fix it and change it. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is we've seen this movement of, when I was younger, you were afraid to speak about what went on in your home, or if your parents were incarcerated or struggled with addiction, and now it's an open conversation and they're not feeling as alone anymore, and that's very important.
Well, a lot of, back in the day, conversations that were off limit were not very helpful, because it made you feel like you're isolated from
Absolutely.
Everything.
You should be ashamed, and you shouldn't be ashamed. It's a disease, and it doesn't discriminate, and so anyone could fall, victim to the disease of addiction. And just because your family member may have that doesn't mean you should feel small. Like, you should feel supported, and you should have that support of your community and your schools and your peers without shame. And that's really, I think, the true message of what we try to provide.
And part of that, I think I found when I was reading and learning about you, you've overcome personally and professionally some huge challenges.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. I grew up in a very rural community where addiction was very rampant. I've watched close family members struggle and overcome and live that life, as a small child. But then getting into adulthood, I've seen, through my children who have multiple medical issues or complexities, how life can bog you down, and it's hard as an adult, to navigate those things and build that sense of community. But you have to, I've watched, I know I shared with you, I have a son who just turned 12, and he was a 23-week preemie and surviving twin, so his twin brother passed away a few days after they were born. We spent a very long time in the hospital then, and at that time in my life I was a social worker doing investigations, and I loved what I did. I had this compassion that I really wanted to fix the system, because I grew up seeing things that maybe weren't how they were supposed to be. And then I went through that difficulty, and I thought, why me? Like, for a brief moment, why me? And I felt like I couldn't go and pour into the community like I had, because I didn't understand why this was happening. And I got out of that situation. He's wonderful and thriving, just the best human sunshine. That's how I would describe him. But I really prayed on it and thought on it, and was able to get back into work about 2 years after he was born. I had to leave work.
You had to take a step back.
Yeah, he was so medically fragile. There was a very long time where I didn't know if he'd ever turn 12 years old, or if I'd ever get to be called mom. I just relived this last week. It was the anniversary of a lot of those things, and I thought to myself, and saw a job opportunity to work with pregnant women at a facility before coming to Unite. Kind of how I learned about Unite was getting back into that field, and I did it, and I went and I poured into these women, and it was just the most humbling experience. It was something that really grew me.
And being able to take everything that has happened and continue to go on,
Yeah.
that takes a lot of grit.
I would think so. I think that strong women raise strong women, and my mom was very much a single mother that had my brother and I saw her struggles through not having a high school degree. She would clean people's houses, which is such respectable work and hard work, and she would take me with her, and I would help, and it would just be exciting to go and do with her. And I just saw her struggles, and she told me something that stuck with me is that no one can take your education away. No one can take away your ethics and your work and your drive, and you're going to be somebody, and you're going to, she just poured into me in the best ways and showed me what she was capable of. I watched her go on to run a very successful business in our community. My brother runs successful businesses. I'm not businessly inclined in that manner. I very much need this type of, this type of work. I love this type of work, and I think she really allowed myself and my brother to define our own versions of success and what that looks like, whether it's pouring into communities or monetary or whatever that may be, and it's just been the best. She is what made me have grit.
What do you think your mom thinks about you?
She is biased, let me say that first of all, but she's my biggest fan. She is. She cheers me on. She is who watches my children so I can, go on these work trips and pour into stuff. I live in Eastern Kentucky. Nothing's closer than 2 hours. Everything's 2 hours away from Eastern Kentucky.
I understand that.
And so, schools aren't built always for working moms, and so the time frames, so you have to have childcare, and she allows me to go and thrive and cheers me on, and she wants to understand my work, and I try to explain it, but as you can see, it's difficult to explain all that.
It's complex.
It is, but she's my #1 fan. I think she's very proud.
So for young girls and young women that may be watching, what kind of advice, with all the things that you have been through and you're still moving, what kind of advice would you give them?
I think that I would say that don't let your worst day define you. You've made it through every bad day in your life so far, and each day is a new day, and as long as you're giving your best, whether that be 5%, 20, 90, 100, as long as it's your best for that day, then you're doing all you can do, and you should be proud of yourself, and that you should push forward and get what you want out of life and define your own success. Don't let anyone else define it for you. You define it.
Congratulations.
Thank you
for being
so happy
here.
to be here.
You guys have heard it. This is just another example of a phenomenal woman in Kentucky who refuses to stop being her best every single day. And continue to watch as we celebrate other phenomenal women on Unapologetically Woman. We'll see you soon.